Hi there. I hope I'm looking at you and not off to the corner, which is so often a problem with webcams. My name is MJ Clemenco. I'm a psychotherapist, hypnotherapist, and personal coach. Hmm. I don't make all of these talks. Uh, I guess the viewer can decide whether or not it's for psychotherapy or it's for coaching or for anything else you're interested in, I suppose. What I want to talk about tonight is something that I see over and over in couples, and it's really amazing. Couples don't hear each other, and everyone past the early stages of infatuation argues. I don't care what kind of couple you are, you could be gay or straight or non binary or whatever. It doesn't matter what you are. When people pair up, is what I'm talking about. And it's what I'm always talking about when I say couple. They always fight, like I said, beyond the first part of infatuation. And what I call a fight is when a conversation turns into an argument, or sometimes an argument just starts. One of the partners comes in the house and says something blatantly rude, and the other one reacts. It's called getting hooked. Because if you really had a lot of self-esteem, you just look at that person and raise an eyebrow, like, "What?" So, very few people are in touch enough with their emotions to feel pain or fear before they get angry. Now, that's not always the case, but remember, I'm talking about couples communications. There are a lot of types of communication where this doesn't apply. But excuse me, it does apply with couples. And that is that if you get hooked, and most people do, someone runs in and says, "Oh, why did you leave the dryer door open? I just ran into it." And the other person goes, "It's not my fault you ran into it. What? I'm your mother? I'm not your mother." And the other person goes, "Fuck off. I'm not calling you my mother. I just think you ought to do something really simple, like close a dryer door." And then the other person thinks and says, "What an asshole." And the other one says, "Fuck you." And since they're not going to start throwing things like household items or certainly never children or animals, they escalated very quickly in my little psychodrama where I played both parts. What neither one of them felt was the pain or the fear. They didn't take a breath and they didn't think when they felt their blood pressure going up, "I must be hurt. I should feel the pain. Let me back up now. What hurt? How did that just hurt me? Or did I become afraid when my partner just said that to me?" I have to think about that. And if it turns out to be true, it's much better to look at your partner and say, "My feelings are hurt because it sounds to me like you think I deliberately sabotaged you with the dryer door. And I wouldn't ever do anything like that. So it hurts my feelings when I think that that's what you're saying. I'm not even sure that's what you mean." And then your partner, totally stunned because you didn't start yelling, hopefully takes a breath and says, I know. I realize that I was just taking my anger out on you, and of course, you didn't leave the dryer door open. Now, that's an argument which can quickly escalate to a fight because if it doesn't go that way, it goes back and forth about the dryer door until someone says, fuck you, and your mother eats dirt, and you should never have been born. And oh, God. If I had to list all the insults I've heard in my office in the last 36 years, I'd get booted off of YouTube. So just take my word for it that that is how couples talk to each other. I'm just portraying what I hear in my office or now on telehealth because I do couples counseling on telehealth and I do family counseling on telehealth. I actually have the ability to bring in different people who could be on their different cell phones or the whole family if they can squeeze into the frame. Nonetheless, since most people haven't been coached about how not to get hooked, or if they get hooked, what to do, they don't feel that pain, they don't feel that fear. So they start right in with retaliation. And what does that do to that person? It makes them guilty too. Because the second you retaliate, you have just punched. It's much better to get in touch with the pain and the fear because then when you come from an I place and talk about how I feel hurt or scared, you do not become the aggressor. You do not become part of that fight. You become the voice of reason. You are a human being wanting to be heard. However, that doesn't usually happen. What usually happens is it goes from an argument to an out and out fight, which is what I just demonstrated for you. Straight name call it. Oh, threatened divorce too. And since you've already threatened divorce 150 times, well, please jump in your car and drive off and make sure you peel a little rubber so the person that you just left knows how mad you are. It probably makes them happy. That's what's so important to realize. A, if you feel anger, you have passed right over hurt or anger or both. And it's much more effective to feel what hurts or what you're afraid of. It's more effective for you to know what you feel. And I think, well, I hope you can work toward this if you're watching this video. It takes practice. It takes practice to know that you're hooked. Well, once you recognize that you are really pissed, you're hooked. So that's a clue. When you escalate to name calling and you get into the really dramatic side of breaking up, and because each one of you is hurt, you're playing this whole drama out because each one of you is hurt. The person who came in who just ran into the dryer is angry because it hurt to run into the dryer door, but them blaming you is something they already know is not true. However, after they make a statement to the effect that it is your fault and you volleyed back because you're hurt, when your partner says, "Oh yeah, that dryer door being open, that that was definitely your fault." So, so if you're not in touch with your pain, you're going to volley back, and you're going to be part of the fight and just as guilty as the other party. And you don't have to be like little kids going, He started it, she started it, they started it, them started it, the dog started it, somebody started it, I didn't start it. No, I never start anything because I am always innocent. Of course. You know who always thinks that they're innocent? Are people who are not at all innocent. The sad thing is people who think they're guilty are usually people who just don't have any self-esteem. They don't think highly enough of themselves to be able to move past that hurt. Yes, that person hurt your feelings by the tone of their voice, by the look on their face, as well as what they said. They gave you an ugly look and it hurt. But then you gave that person an ugly look and hurled your slights at them. It hurt. Yeah, you were aiming to hurt them because they hurt you. Well, now you accomplished your goal. You hurt them. So now it's a dueling battle of who can hurt whom more. And if you've been a couple for a while and you're engaged in that kind of behavior, you're digging deep for the worst hurt. And the really sad thing is, after a while, couples just sling those things at each other and it doesn't hurt because they don't care anymore. They just do it because it feels good. But love is like a flower, a beautiful orchid. If you don't water it, it will die. If you just give it a little water, you'll be rewarded with the most beautiful, exotic flower, experience, time. You'll be rewarded. And if the other person doesn't calm down, you need to just get out of the way. Don't antagonize. Don't need to win. Just get out of the way. It will go over. People will get calmer. Don't engage. When it's time to engage, you won't be yelling at each other. And you won't, if you try to speak to each other, you won't reignite the fight. You can tell when you're ready to figure something out. And then do it. And do it over and over and over. And sometimes don't be afraid to compromise. If you compromise once, that doesn't make you the compromiser of the relationship forever. That means that you could see a compromise in what the argument was about. So you offered it up. The other person needs to listen and hear and be respectful. And the same goes for you when it works the other way. Imagine that. Imagine a couple actually talking to each other like civilized adults and not two 4-year-olds outside where no mother is watching. Now worse than two 4-year-olds. It's the worst kind of fighting because you're only fighting because you love each other, because you care. If you don't care about somebody, they can't hurt you. Think about that. If you're walking down the street and some drunk is sitting on the sidewalk with a bottle of something in a brown paper bag and says, "Oh, you're the most disgusting thing. You're not even human. You're so disgusting." Would you get hooked? No. You look over and go, "Oh, I don't know if he has a gun, so I'm just going to keep walking and pretend like I didn't hear." which is the best thing to do all the time anyway. But it's also the thing you must remember. If you're arguing, if you're fighting, you love each other. People who don't love each other do not argue, they do not fight. They don't. They're dead inside to whatever their partner has to say. They appear to roll over because they just don't want to fight anymore. And that's particularly true of men. Men get tired of fighting a lot quicker than women. So, I mean, two men might just get tired of fighting and go to opposite sides of the place where they live. A man and a woman, a guy might withdraw, most likely will withdraw. And what does that do? And let's just put it back to partners so it can be any sex in any type of relationship they find intimate. Imagine you're both hurting because you both love each other. And each one of you is so hurt because you believe the other person intended to hurt you. No, they didn't. They did not intend to hurt you. That makes you much more important than you are in their play. Now, once they feel hurt, well, then they probably intend to hurt you after that. Once you feel hurt, you volley back. And think about how many hours, how many days, how many good times you ruined, or someone else has ruined for you because of a fight. Good Lord, life is short. And none of us know how short our lives are going to be. So don't think I can get to this next week. People get killed or drop dead every day. And I know every one of you knows of someone that has happened to. So just recognize that fighting means you care and learn to change direction, to acknowledge you care and you want to resolve whatever's going on. Might help you stay together for a long, long time. Good night.